Finally, let's consider our fourth topic, ILO, the roles that business and government play in environmental issues. Firstly, what do all these organizations have in common? The answer, a desire for environmental sustainability. Sustainability is an idea that has become formally adopted around the world and whose influence is evident in two key spheres of human civilization, government and business. Let's start first with governments. The concept of sustainability is an increasingly important one for governments around the globe. This is evident in the United Nations, who have declared the period from 2005 to 2014 as the UN Decade of Education for Sustainable Development. Member nations of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, such as Australia, New Zealand, Canada, England, and Germany, are just some who have developed national policies for sustainable development. For governments, we see its influence in the form of recently evolved institutions whose purpose is to preserve aspects of our environment. These include the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations Environmental Protection Agency, and in agreements such as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and the European Union Emissions Trading Scheme. Australian examples of government legislation aimed at preserving the natural environment include the Clean Energy Act of 2011, the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act of 1999, and the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Act. Now let's consider the role of business in environmental issues. Just as sustainability has become an important idea for governments, so too has it become important for business. One reason why sustainability matters to business is because of its role in corporate social responsibility, or CSR. CSR rests on the idea that businesses are corporate citizens who owe a responsibility to society beyond making profits. Dunphy, Griffiths, and Ben argue that there are 5 key issues that are pressuring organizations to become responsible global citizens. The first of these is poverty. As late as 2014, there were approximately 800 million starving people and 1.2 billion people living in extreme poverty. With concentrated ownership, much of the material wealth of the world is owned by major corporations. There are also negative effects of globalization and industrialization in the developing world. There's a failure of the international community of nations and individual corporations to address these concerns. And governments are increasingly encouraging business accountability and innovation for sustainability through markets and legislation. Another is because of its role in driving improvements for business, such as competitive advantage, where sustainability concerns become a catalyst for creating lower operating costs. Cognizant of the global challenges to our environment, business is increasingly attentive to minimizing its collective impact on the natural environment. Markets are also evolving. For business, we see its influence in the evolution of markets. For example, we now have corporations offering investment advice according to measures of environmental and social sustainability. These include the Zurich-based Sustainable Asset Management. Another example is that of major banks around the world that are increasingly reluctant to finance projects that have poor environmental creations, such as the Bendigo Bank. The environmental aspect also represents an opportunity to earn profits. For example, in an era of climate change, companies such as Carbon Planet are now finding opportunities in carbon management markets. Finally, to To see if you can apply some of the content from this week's lecture, please watch the videos about the problem of climate change. Read the readings by Carroll and Buchholz and Linenleuk and Griffiths and answer these questions. You will find these materials on the LMS page under this topic. That's it for this week's lecture. Thanks for watching the podcasts, and please make sure you complete your homework activity, read the prescribed readings, and complete the quiz before attending your seminar.